The boat. The sun was a red eye in the sky as the boat cut through the water. It was a big, old thing, made of wood and metal, with a name painted on the side in faded gold letters, the Siren. 6 people were on board. Jack, a writer with a haunted look. Maria, his young, vibrant wife. Ben, a tall, silent man with a scar on his cheek. Sarah, a nervous woman with big glasses. Chris, a cheerful guy with a constant grin. And old Tom, the captain, with eyes that held the secrets of the sea. They were on a journey, a search for something hidden deep in the ocean. Something that promised wealth, power, maybe even immortality. But as the night fell and the waves grew taller, the boat began to change. It creaked and groaned, like an old beast waking up from a long sleep. The air grew cold, and a fog rolled in, thick and white, hiding everything but the boat. Then the screams started. It was Maria. Her voice, usually like music, was now a terrified animal's cry. They found her in the cabin, her eyes wide with fear, her hands clawing at the air. Before anyone could reach her, she was gone, disappearing into thin air, leaving behind only a wet spot on the floor. Fear gripped them. Ben, the strong one, was shaking. Sarah was sobbing, her glasses fogged up with tears. Chris, the cheerful one, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Even Jack, the writer who'd seen his share of darkness, was pale and trembling. Old Tom just stared into the fog, his eyes filled with a strange light. "The siren is hungry," he said, his voice low and rough. That night was a nightmare. Strange noises echoed through the boat, like whispers and cries. Shadows danced on the walls, taking shapes of monstrous creatures. And then there was the smell, a sweet, sickly smell that made their stomachs turn. One by one, they disappeared. Ben, strong as he was, vanished without a trace. Sarah, the scared one, was found curled up in a corner, her eyes empty. Chris, the cheerful soul, was last. They heard his laughter, then a scream, and then silence. Jack was alone with old Tom. The captain seemed calm, almost peaceful. He told Jack about the boat, about how it was alive, a creature of the deep that fed on fear. It had been dormant for years, but now it was awake. "It wants us all, Jack," Tom said, his voice like a whisper. "It wants to take us back to the ocean, to be part of it forever." Jack's mind raced. He had to escape. He looked around for a weapon, anything to fight back. But there was nothing, just the old boat, the thick fog, and the feeling of being watched. As dawn broke, the fog started to lift. Jack saw land in the distance, a green and promising sight. Hope flared in his heart. He ran to the edge of the boat, ready to jump. But as he looked down, he saw the water. It wasn't blue anymore. It was red, filled with something dark and terrifying. And then he saw it, a face looking up at him from the depths. A face that was part human, part fish, with eyes that held the coldness of the ocean. Jack screamed. The last thing he saw was the siren's smile, wide and hungry, as the boat started to sink, taking him with it into the cold, dark embrace of the sea. Jack awoke with a gasp, his body drenched in cold sweat. The boat was still sinking, the red water creeping higher. He was alone, the only living soul on the cursed Siren. Panic surged through him as he scrambled to the surface, breaking free from the sinking vessel just as it disappeared beneath the waves. The morning sun was a cruel mockery of hope as he tread water, his lungs burning. The vast expanse of ocean stretched out in every direction, a watery prison. He tried to swim, but the current was too strong, pulling him under again and again. As he fought to stay afloat, he saw it. A dark shape moving through the water, a shadow against the sunlight. It was larger than a human, with a sleek, almost serpentine body. As it drew closer, Jack could make out its grotesque features. Webbed hands, scaly skin, and eyes that glowed an eerie green. It was the creature from his nightmare, the thing that lived within the Siren. Terror consumed him as the creature closed in. He kicked and screamed, but it was useless. Its cold, slimy hands wrapped around his ankles, pulling him down into the depths. As darkness enveloped him, He heard a haunting melody, a siren song that seemed to come from deep within the ocean. When Jack opened his eyes, he was in a different place. It was a cabin, small and dark, with the smell of salt and decay hanging heavy in the air. He was strapped to a wooden table, his body aching. A figure stood at the end of the room, shrouded in shadow. It was old Tom, but his eyes were different, filled with a cold, inhuman light. "Welcome to the Siren's heart, Jack," he said, his voice a hollow whisper. Jack struggled against his restraints, but they were too tight. "What have you done to them?" he demanded, his voice hoarse. Tom chuckled, a chilling sound. "They are part of her now, Jack, just like you will be." Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He remembered the creature, the thing from the depths. Was he going to become one of them? Tom approached the table, his face illuminated by a dim lamp. Jack saw that his skin was pale and scaly, his eyes completely black. "The siren is hungry," Tom said, his voice barely a whisper. "And you are her next meal." As Tom reached out to touch him, Jack felt a surge of adrenaline. He strained against his restraints, his muscles burning. With one final, desperate effort, he broke free. In the chaos that followed, Jack fought for his life. He wrestled with Tom, their bodies crashing into the walls. The cabin was small and the fight was brutal. In the end, it was Jack who emerged victorious. He stood over Tom, panting, his hands covered in blood. The cabin was silent, except for the sound of the ocean outside. Jack stumbled to his feet and made his way to the door. As he opened it, a wave of relief washed over him. He was free, but then he saw it. The ocean was no longer blue. It was red, filled with dark shapes moving beneath the surface. The siren was angry. Jack turned and ran, back into the cabin. He had to find a way to stop the creature, to destroy the siren once and for all. The cabin was a maze of dark corridors and hidden rooms. As he explored, he found a diary hidden in a secret compartment. It belonged to the boat's original captain, a man obsessed with the ocean and its mysteries. The diary told a horrifying story. The captain had discovered an underwater city, filled with unimaginable wealth and power. But the city was guarded by a monstrous creature, a siren that could control the minds of men. The captain had tried to harness the siren's power, but it had turned on him and the crew, transforming them into its servants. The diary also contained a clue about the siren's weakness. It was a heartstone, a crystal said to be the source of the creature's power. If the heartstone was destroyed, the siren would die. Jack's heart pounded with hope. He had to find the heartstone. It was his only chance to survive. Armed with the knowledge from the captain's diary, Jack searched the depths of the siren. Every corner of the boat held echoes of the past, remnants of a crew consumed by greed and madness. The walls were adorned with strange symbols, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. The heartstone, according to the diary, was hidden in the siren's engine room. It was a dangerous place, filled with the machinery of the old vessel. As Jack descended the iron stairs, the creaking of metal and the rhythmic thump of the engine filled his ears. The engine room was a cavernous space, bathed in the dim glow of emergency lights. Rust and decay had claimed much of the machinery, but the heart of the siren still pulsed with a dark energy. As Jack moved deeper into the room, the temperature dropped, and a chilling wind swept through the space. He found it near the center of the room, encased in a metal box. It was a pulsating orb of light, its colors shifting and changing like a living thing. As he reached out to touch it, a wave of nausea washed over him. The heartstone seemed to be calling to him, drawing him in. With a surge of willpower, Jack broke the glass case. The heartstone emitted a piercing cry, and the ship shuddered as if in pain. The creature, sensing its heart in danger, roared from the depths. Jack didn't hesitate. He grabbed the heartstone and ran. The creature's response was immediate. The engine room shook violently, and the lights flickered and died. In the darkness, Jack could hear the creature's rage, a primal sound that echoed through the ship. He stumbled through the corridors, the heartstone burning in his hand. The creature was gaining on him, its footsteps heavy and menacing. Jack could feel its hot breath on the back of his neck. He burst onto the deck, the cold night air hitting him like a slap. The ocean was a maelstrom, waves crashing against the sides of the ship. The creature emerged from the depths, its form distorted by the moonlight. It was larger than before, its eyes burning with hatred. Jack raised the heartstone. It glowed brighter than ever, its light cutting through the darkness. He hurled it at the creature. The heartstone struck its target with a sickening thud. The creature let out a final, agonized scream and disappeared beneath the waves. A sense of peace washed over Jack. The storm subsided, and the ocean returned to its usual calm. The Siren, its heart destroyed, was dying. As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, Jack watched as the old boat sank beneath the waves. With it, the secrets of the deep were buried forever. He was alone, a survivor of a nightmare. As he looked out at the vast ocean, he felt a strange sense of calm. He had faced his fears, conquered his demons, and emerged victorious. The experience had changed him forever. He was no longer the same man who had boarded the Siren. He turned and walked away, leaving behind the ghost ship and the horrors it contained. The world was a different place now, and he was ready to face it.